Welcome to another edition of The Learning Journey. Wayne Hines, your host, with you once again as we head back to Madagascar. And we're going to chat with a young man who, once again, has a challenging name. Fanova is his first name. I think I've got that correct. I'm not even attempting his surname, but Fanova, welcome to The Learning Journey.
Hello, Wayne, and happy to be part of this project and happy to be your guest today.
Yes. Now, last season, Andre was on the show and I asked him about his name and he just rattled off a whole bunch of words and I still really don't know what he said. He told me they were his like 4 names or something like that. So, Fanova, for my benefit, because I don't want to even attempt your surname, more or less your other names, is actually your full name.
Actually, my full name is Razafindrakoto, Fanova, and Trainee Francis. But it's very typical for Madagascar people to have such long names. But I think Fanova is okay.
I think I can handle Fanova, so we will just run with that if that's okay. I want to talk about your journey into math because I think it's like 10 years ago you actually started. So you're in engineering at the moment, so we'll talk to that. But I think you started in logistics. Is that right? Can you tell us how you became involved in MAF?
Yeah, exactly. I started with the MAF back in 2013 as a logistics officer. I heard about the vacancy with a friend who was already working for MAF at that time. We used to be classmates actually in the secondary school. So he told me that there is a position in math that I could fit in. So I applied and I got recruited. I was in the logistics for 2 years. Being a logistics officer is dealing with paperwork, passport, visa, and so on. Sometimes you go to Tamata, which is the main port in Madagascar, to get shipments from the customs. But also we were helping especially the international staff to deal with paperwork mainly. So that's what we're doing in logistics. And after working for the logistics for 2 years, and then the program manager at that time came to me with the logistics manager, who was Andrew, actually. They came to me and they were talking about an opportunity to join the maintenance department if I was interested in playing with careers and so on. So I said, yeah, why not? That's something I always liked, to work on cars and so on. So I did not decide to miss that opportunity. So about 6 months, I was working out for the logistics and out for the maintenance department. And then after 6 months, I moved totally to the maintenance department.
Yeah. What did you know about MAF before you started working for the organization? I mean, it's been in Madagascar for quite some time. So had you heard about MAF? Had you seen one of the planes, like, something along those lines? Or was it just sort of a friend said, hey, there's an organization here. It's a Christian organization. You should apply for this job.
To be honest, I didn't know that much about MAF before coming to join MAF. But that friend told me about the organization, that they were working with the foreigners here, with the international staffs, and he was sure that my English could be useful for my work. And they were working with missionaries, and he told me about the mission that MAF was doing. And it's a Christian organization, which I would like to work in very, very much at that time.
Yeah. So we have people that listen to the podcast and they're in the Netherlands, or, they're all around the country, all around the world, I should say. And so some of them might not actually know too much about the environment when it comes to Christianity in Madagascar. So are you able to, freely be a Christian in Madagascar? Is it a country where it's a bit more difficult? Help us to understand the context when it comes to followers of Christ.
Madagascar, if you look at the statistics, you might find that more than half of the population is Christian. So half of it is non-Christian. There, of course, is like Muslims and traditional believers and so on. But of course, there are still places where Christianity is not known at all, where people are still sticking on their traditional beliefs, where they have not heard about Jesus at all. So that's when MAF comes on the way and play its role of the vision organization.
Now, I think at the moment you're Trainee Aircraft Maintenance Engineer. Is that Still correct?
Yeah, it's still correct.
Tell us, going from logistics, and you mentioned, you went into maintenance and now a trainee aircraft maintenance engineer. Tell me the kind of things that you had to learn to step into this new role, because what you explained with logistics is not really anything to do with engineering. So I'm sure you had to learn a lot of new things.
Yes, you are right. It's something totally different from being a logistics officer to be an aircraft engineer apprentice. Actually, I'm still apprentice right now. The chief engineer at that time had a very good hope in me to get involved in the maintenance department as quick as I could, because the plan was for me to get a license. So in order to get a license, there are some theoretical trainings that an apprentice has to do. So Robert Barber, the chief engineer, started to give me an online training from the Internal Career School. It's a Canadian school that gives online trainings. So he subscribed me in that course. It took me 2 years to do the whole course and to pass the exams. So in 2018, I finished the theoretical trainings. But at the same time, I have been working with the guys on the aircraft. So I would help them to clean parts or to carry out inspections on the aircraft, to open panels and so on, to remove the seats and put the seats back. I started with little things like that because for an apprentice, you have to be supervised in whatever you do and work on an aircraft. If everything was working according to how we planned, maybe I've got my license already, but the COVID problem, it delayed everything. So waiting and hoping to get my next license. So
Yeah.
soon.
Well, we'll talk about the disruption to COVID in a minute, but here's what I want to know, Fanova, because I've been up to the aircraft hangar in Mariba in Australia, talked to some engineers up there. The planes are there. I see they take the cover off. The engine is exposed. And I'm not mechanical anyway, but I look at that engine and I think, how on earth does anybody know what all those bits and pieces actually do and the right place to put them together? Do you ever get overwhelmed with all of the information that you need to retain in terms of being a maintenance engineer?
One thing I like about maintenance engineering is very different from any vehicle engineering. What I mean to say is if you work on a car, like being a car mechanic, you would not necessarily need a manual. I mean, I don't know in Europe or in the States or in Western countries that I don't know if all car mechanics always use manual to prepare their cars. But in an aircraft, being an aircraft engineer, there is no way you can go out of the manual, out of what is written in the manual to work on an airplane. In that way, you do not have that much of a pressure on you that you do something according to your own thinking, but you have to do it according to the manual. So I think that gives you a very clear limits on what you should do and what you should not do on an airplane. But of course, even reading the manual is not always easy because sometimes they would write one phrase, but what you do to complete that phrase takes you 5 steps. So I think it's all about experience and logic thinking.
So, Fanova, if I'm in Madagascar and I'm driving my car and it starts to make a strange noise and I'm thinking, I don't really know what that is, and I bring it to you as an aircraft maintenance engineer, are there skills that translate into fixing my car in this, theoretical example?
As I said, there are always procedures. The culture of working on aircraft really helps me personally to grow in how I would react on any other situation. So if you would come to me with your car making noise in the front or in the engine, I would start, of course, by doing a diagnostic on the thing. The main thing is to start on little things, like you do not go straight on removing the engine and, like on big things, but you have to start on small things that can help you to do a diagnostic on the issue, and then you go step by step. So I think that culture is really helping it's applicable on airplane, but you can apply that on anything that can be useful.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I'll be driving in Madagascar anytime soon, so don't expect me to turn up to the hangar in a vehicle, but I just thought I'd ask just in case. Now, you mentioned a little while ago about COVID and the delay in getting your license. And I think in life, be that personally or professionally, sometimes we have some plans and they don't happen in the time frame that we thought. And so we've got to deal with disappointment. And so I wonder for you, how have you kind of dealt with that disappointment of not having your license at the moment, though you thought you would, because of something very unexpected that, was out of your control?
Yeah, of course, in a certain way, it was a disappointment. But in another way, I look it from the point of view that God has his own plan for everything that you put in his hands. So I do not really take it as a problem that it didn't happen the way we were planning it to be, because it gives me a chance to grow more and more in the aviation industry and get more experience. And gives me time to reread maybe those books that I read before, because anyway, the exams will be based on those books. One thing maybe I have not told you, but actually now I'm being a quality manager for the maintenance department. So I do not really see it as a problem that it did not happen, because now I'm involved in the quality department, that it really helps me to see things that I would not see being just engineer. So the time that God gives me to grow more, I'm really enjoying it, that I can really grow more on my experience and my work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what sort of growth is then involved in moving into the quality side of MAF? Because once again, it's another different department with different rules and all that kind of thing. So what new things have you had to learn yet again as you sort of step into the quality side?
Actually, me stepping to the quality side does not remove me from the plan of getting a license. But as I said, it's something additional to my role, and it's really helping me to know more, to dig more in the aircraft maintenance industry, because in the quality team, we would do internal audits with the operations quality manager. And it's more about paperwork as well, because we would look at if the paperwork on the airplane are complete, or anything is should be updated on the manual and so on. So it's another area and I'm growing now, because now it's more about paperwork, but the maintenance is more about working with your hands. So I'm not really looking at it as totally another area, but it's something that's been added.
My son is a second-year apprentice, not in aviation, so in a very, very different field. But one of the things is that he learns from people who have much more experience than him. But he's also now in a position where he has people that are newer than he is, and so he's able to actually share and teach people that are new to the organization. So maybe a first-year apprentice, because he's second year. I wonder, do you get a chance to sort of impart some of the skills that you've learned, or some of the knowledge that you have, maybe to newer people coming into MAF in Madagascar?
In the maintenance department, we do not, at the moment, we're just two guys now. So if we are to talk about the experience being an aircraft mechanic, the only opportunity that I have to share my experience is when we have school kids that come to the office and they want to look at the airplane and they want to know what is this and what is that. So that's when I step in and start to explaining to the children, to the students, what they know already about the airplane.
Do you enjoy spending that time with the school children when they come in? I imagine, it's all very, very exciting. Maybe some of them haven't been up close and seen a plane, right there and then. So is it something that you find rewarding, maybe, to be able to just sort of share some of your experience with these school kids and maybe even be an inspiration for them? Who knows how many of those kids might wind up, in the engineering department of MAF in Madagascar at some point in time?
Yeah, exactly. Not every child has the chance to see the airplane in a close way. Of course, kids are always interesting with their very interesting questions, sometimes tricky because you do not always know everything on the airplane. So I enjoy sharing with them what I know. In Madagascar, actually, we do not have engineering school. So kids do not have that chance to go to engineering school in Madagascar. So this is one of the opportunities for them to know more about an airplane, to know where the fuel is stored, because most of them would think the fuel is at the engine compartment in front of the airplane, things like that. So, yeah, it's interesting. And of course, by teaching the others, also teaching yourself to grow and so on. And maybe they would ask you questions that we don't know the answer. And next time you look at that and you know, this is the answer to that question. So it's helpful.
So what's the big math dream for you, Fanova? If you could do anything in the organization, like what do you dream about doing?
Yeah, I have so many dreams, but be honest, when I started to move to the maintenance department, the guys working in the airplane were inspiring me with their skills and their knowledge. And as you said before, it would be very interesting for you to look at all the parts on an engine and to know what this one and what this one is, and to be able to fix them whenever there are issues with them. So in my life, I think I always wanted, first of all, to be able to manage what I'm doing, my main goal in the organization. So if I would have a dream, my first dream is to be a good mechanic, to know what I should do and what I should not do, and to be able to help with my skills and knowledge in a way that it is accorded. So on top of getting a license one day, I would love to be able to do my job properly. And that's always my dream in my life, to master. Maybe that's too exaggerating, but to know my role and to satisfy the others and for them to be happy.
Well, our time, sadly, is coming to an end. And what I want to do is I kind of want to reflect on your math journey for the last 10 years, if we can, Fanova. I wonder if you think back 10 years when you first joined the organization to where you are now. Are you kind of amazed at like what God has done in you and through you and how you have grown across those years?
Of course, I'm more than amazed to what God has done to me, especially during the last 10 years, because seeing myself 10 years ago wandering around, because when I finished the university, I used to wander around 2 years without doing anything. That's when I started hearing about math. I think that was one of the biggest blessings in my life, that God guided me to this organization where Christianity is in the first position. And I would not expect myself to work as an aircraft mechanic. Never. That was never came through my mind. So it's amazing again that from a logistics officer to an aircraft mechanic, which are two very different things, that's already something that's really amazing that God have done in my life. And spiritually, I have nothing to thank God with other people. Seeing myself working in a Christian organization and be able to apply my knowledge and experience for the best of those people who needs the prosperity.
Yeah. Well, Fanova, I want to say thank you so very much for sharing your story with us today. It's been nice to meet you. It's been nice to get to know you. And I'm just very, very thankful that you took some time out from the hangar floor just to have a chat with me on the other side of the world.
Yeah, thank you, Wayne. And I'm very glad and happy to be part of this podcast. And thank you for inviting me. I hope I could share just a little part of my life. So thank you very much.
Our guest on the podcast today was Fanova from Madagascar. Yes, even now, I'm not even going to attempt his last name. We do hope, though, that you were inspired to continue your learning journey by hearing Fanova's story and his willingness to keep growing and developing. Next episode, we chat with the International Development Director and Head of Legal Services at MAF International, Bill Harding, as he shares what he's learned in more than 30 years with the organisation. Now, if you haven't already, we'd love you to subscribe to the podcast And also head over to the L&D SharePoint page to check out some of the learning resources available. They'll help you reach your full potential.